World Tournament 1. Standing on the Eternal Ember Plane, Lucian focused on his console, currently in the process of registering for the World Tournament. Small specks of embers whirled around him, a natural occurrence in this land. The Eternal Ember Plane was located at the edge of Muspelheim and had a hazardous environment. Lucian was able to stand here without taking damage from the flying specks of ember thanks to the abilities provided by his Elderhilder Valkyrie. No other players were near him. After all, he was at one of the edges of Muspelheim, a place where most players wouldn't even consider going unless they were seeking specific drops from particular monsters found only there. Even then, they would be equipped with gear specifically suited for this location, including fire-resistant and ember-resistant gears. This should do it. But the fact that they're offering 10 million coins for everyone who registers is quite surprising. However, I suppose since only players at level 90 and above can join, it's not a life-changing amount, but it's still a substantial sum. 10 million coins were indeed a substantial amount. For regular level 90 to 100 players, the coins earned from registering in the tournament could certainly make a significant difference. One of the reasons why the World Tournament was so popular was its extensive advertising. It could be found almost everywhere, from TV to T-Tube. The promotion for the Yggdrasil World Tournament was widespread. Additionally, the event was broadcasted across multiple platforms, and even players who participated and lost would have the opportunity to witness the final battles in person. Man, I'm really tired after hearing all those lectures from Chigama-san, Lucian said as he slumped down on the red rocky bed on the ground. He had received quite an earful from his new friend, although she later apologized for her rude behavior. Apparently, she had a brother who spent money on gachas, which is why she thought of Lucian as a brother for a moment and lectured him. A sibling, huh? It must be nice to have a sister, wouldn't it? Lucian mumbled to himself, wondering what it would be like to have a sister. After collecting his thoughts, Lucian stood up and glanced at the timer. 22:54, 22 minutes remained before the tournament was set to begin. Once the tournament started, every player would be transported to a private PvP arena to battle a randomly chosen opponent who had also registered for that world. They would continue to battle unless they lost or won all the rounds for the day. The event spanned 3 days, with the third day featuring the main fights of all the worlds, where only the semi-finalists would remain. For the most part, players were focused on and eagerly awaited the battles for the rank 3 and 1 positions. Both of these players were from the same guild and had gained significant popularity in the virtual world. Furthermore, they were both endorsed by the same brand, a VR software security company. Lucian, on the other hand, wasn't particularly interested in claiming the number 1 or number 2 spot, as he was already powerful enough and didn't require anyone's approval to maintain his strength. However, he wouldn't mind taking on the first and second rankers if they sought a challenge and attempting to claim their positions. Unfortunately for Lucian, both of those highly ranked players were participating in the Niflheim world and not in Muspelheim. In Muspelheim, he could only find players ranked 7 to 12. This limited selection of high-ranked opponents might be why Muspelheim didn't generate as much excitement among players. Lucian patiently waited for the remaining 22 minutes, passing the time by exploring the cash shop and buying all the new items he could find. Since he hadn't checked the cash shop earlier in the day, there were plenty of new items to catch up on. As the timer finally reached 0, Lucian vanished from the red rock bed he was sitting on, reappearing inside a massive hall that was packed to the brim with players. Lucian observed some players chatting with each other and forming groups. It appeared that the players in the vicinity had been transported in such a way that they ended up together with their friends if their friends had also signed up. Lucian, however, found himself alone, likely because he had no friends in the Muspelheim world's vicinity. This might be due to his relatively small number of friends, with most of them being members of the largest guilds or friends of Touch Me, whom Lucian also considered his friend. Total players registered, World, Muspelheim, 7,118. Player, Lucy, Round 1 Opponent, Sigma Male 69. Fight starts in 10 minutes. Please choose your gears and equip them. Warning. You won't be allowed to change gears during PvP. Warning. You won't be allowed to use recovery items during PvP. Lucian looked at the screen. He had already reviewed the details and rules of the World Tournament after registering. Essentially, each player would engage in random battles against others who had registered from the same world in a standard PvP format. These battles would continue until only 4 semi-finalists remained. Then, the remaining 4 contestants would battle in a new arena specially designed for the World Championship, which had yet to be revealed. Each of the 9 worlds had its unique arena. It was said that the World Championship wasn't solely about sheer power but also required wits, as the arena itself would attempt to devour the participants. These details had been hinted at in the trailers and promotional materials released so far. Lucian wasn't overly concerned about the challenges ahead. After all, he was at level 90, and his stats were already enough to solo raid bosses, an impossible accomplishment in itself. Lucian examined his inventory and equipped his gear. Everything remained the same, including his armor, except for his hands, which now bore 2 purple gauntlets. They resembled devilish hands with sharp, burning red claws that seemed to melt, and each gauntlet featured a red gem at its center emitting a subtle glow. Symbolic wings surrounded the gems, indicating their devilish nature. Lucian had decided not to fight with a lance, scythe, or any other weapon this time. Instead, he would rely on his bare hands. After all, why not? He had no reason to worry about losing. He was already overwhelmingly powerful. Moreover, in Muspelheim, most of the players were relatively weak, with the top players participating in Alfheim, Asgard, and Niflheim. Lucian inspected his gauntlets. Cursed Claw of the First Devil. Description: a weapon forged from the dying hands of the First Devil, a raid boss. The deity only dropped 1 pair of such gauntlets, each holding the power and essence of the First Devil. Data capacity: 1.8 million. Type: weapon. Class: divine. Skills, abilities: 2 aspects of First Devil: Cursed Touch, Infernal Grasp, Devil's Mark, Maleficent Aura. This weapon had been dropped by a devil boss that Lucian had defeated at the edge of Muspelheim, where the most powerful monsters resided. Lucian was able to go through that dangerous route thanks to his Elderhilder Valkyrie, which granted him absolute fire immunity and endless firepower. These attributes were essential for traversing the route and defeating the boss monster, a feat Lucian had achieved first. This achievement explained why the boss had dropped 5 divine class items, with the pair of gauntlets being the most powerful among them. Before equipping the gear, Lucian decided to switch one of his rings. His slender and long fingers were adorned with 10 rings, each a work of art in itself. These rings were either rare divine class artifacts or, in the case of one exceptional item, a world-class item known as Dropner. Normally, a player wouldn't be able to equip 5 rings on each hand, totaling 10, and can only equip 1 ring at most. However, through cash shop items, one can bypass this limitation, allowing them to have the ability to equip more than 1 ring. In Lucian's case, he can equip a total of 10. Lucian carefully examined his inventory and selected a special ring he had created. This ring was designed to convert his stats into data, enabling him to restrict his strength during normal gameplay without sealing or erasing it entirely. Essentially, it allowed Lucian to compress his stats into small bits of data, granting him the ability to seal them temporarily. The ring was a marvel of craftsmanship, a full-finger ring with a beautiful design. Its body resembled a delicate cobweb net, adorned with small gems at its corners. At its heart, a stunning gem radiated with the intensity and colors of a galaxy, exuding a serene, calm, and breathtaking beauty. Restraint on divinity. Data capacity: 3.5 million. Type: accessory. Class: artifact divine. Description: an item created by the player, Lucy. This item have restraining qualities of unprecedented degrees. Skills, abilities: divine chains, shackle of infinite, nether pulse, data control, data compression, data conversion, data management. This artifact has the ability to seal the stats of any player by compressing the data. The seal can be released at any time, as long as the player knows the password. Enter password. Lucian immediately entered the password as a keyboard appeared. Password: Mei can't eat carrot, a choice of password that was sure to annoy his self-proclaimed perfect maid. Nevertheless, he proceeded with it. Access granted. After entering the password and seeing the ring's effects taking place, Lucian wore the ring. Although he could easily one-shot everything if he wanted to, where's the fun in that? Don't worry, just because he has sealed his stats, doesn't mean shit. Just his natural abilities makes him a monster. And his stats can be unsealed anytime. He unequipped his world-class ring, Dropner, and equipped the restraint on divinity. After all, Lucian couldn't equip a world-class item in this tournament, as they were banned. After that, he immediately put on the 2 gauntlets, transforming his hands to look like those of a devil. However, his armor remained immaculate, creating a striking contrast with his handsome, pretty boy avatar. A couple of minutes later, Lucian saw a new screen in front of him, with a huge timer counting down. As the timer reached 0, Lucian suddenly found himself teleported to a new location. The place he found himself in was a normal PvP arena, the most typical one could battle in. A rocky terrain, and what looked like a gladiator arena. Lucian looked ahead and he was greeted by his first opponent. Lucian glanced at the humanoid player, who was adorned in a full-body armor that, while visually impressive, Lucian could tell was likely no more than legendary class. Lucian observed the player's appearance, instantly recognizing him as humanoid just by his avatar's look. The character had a sky-blue body with the appearance of floating clouds. A sword at his hip indicated his role as a warrior, and his overall build confirmed it. IGN. Sigma Male 69. Humanoid. Race. Jin Albashara, Sky. Level. 100. HP 89/89. MP 53/53. Lol, bro thinks he's Prince Charming. You're ugly inside, lil, bud. No amount of cosmetics can hide your vampire appearance. Yuck, you disgust me. As the 1-minute timer counted down, Lucian could clearly hear the player's comments through the PvP voice chat. Lucian didn't react to the player's words. He was accustomed to hearing such comments from other players, mainly humanoids who apparently found heteromorphic avatars repulsive. However, the player's remark didn't apply to Lucian anymore. He no longer had the lamprey-like appearance from before. This was his new normal appearance. After acquiring the Transcendent Vampire class, his appearance had transformed into a holy and divine one, influenced by his greatest Einherjar class. Lucian knew the rules well. Players were allowed to engage in verbal fights without the risk of getting banned, as long as it occurred before the semi-finals and finals. So, can you fight, or is it all just talk? Lucian asked as he adjusted his gauntlets, which were eager to showcase their power. Bud, you shouldn't be asking anything yet. Wait for the battle to start, and I'll be the one doing the questioning. The player tried to appear cool, but it came off as childish. Fine with me. Lucian smirked, eagerly awaiting the timer to reach 0 so he could give this kid a little beatdown. 2,000 plus words. Was it another boring chapter? Don't worry, once the World Tournament arc is over, everything will get excited and fast. Give some power stones for motivation. Drop a review for eternal blessing. Guys, those of you who think I'm gonna drop this fanfic, please, don't worry, I'm not gonna drop this fanfic. It's a passion project of mine. Even if none of you guys supported it, I would have still written it. And will continue to do so. Also, don't worry, I haven't ran out of idea. My brain is filled with them, but it's a total different thing to have an idea and to put it into paper as writing. And I'm doing my best to put it as naturally and as best as possible. I don't want to come off as cringe, or something similar. Anyway, to those of you who are planning stay till the new world. I'll make sure it's worth it for you. 13 comments 0 vote. World Tournament 2. Lucian dodged a straight sword slash from his opponent, Sigma Male 69, as he swung his two-handed sword like a maniac. Despite the constant, wild swings, Lucian effortlessly dodged them, moving like a trained warrior. Lucian could tell, from his opponent's reflexes and build so far, that this player had little to no strategy. He didn't even have a properly min-maxed character. When Lucian took one of his attacks, not even a single point of damage was inflicted, indicating that his physical attack stat was below 70. This player probably tried to be a cool magic swordsman and chose multiple magic and physical job classes, forgetting that a good build is one that's built with patience and trial and error. Only a moron would be so confident with such an atrocious build. I thought you said you'd beat me up. Don't tell me all this time you haven't fought anyone with the same level as yours. Lucian asked as he once again dodged the sword slash from Sigma Male 69. Was all your talking just a farce? Were you just bullying low-level players trying to feel superior? What a pathetic piece of. Lucian dodged another attack and leaned near the player's head, whispering, shit. His opponent followed up with a downward slash, but he was unable to land it yet. The player shouted, shut up. And cast a spell. Chain explosion, he chanted aloud instead of using his console, which made it seem rather foolish since he was essentially announcing his move to Lucian. Lucian couldn't help but think that this guy wasn't very smart, as using voice commands for spells in PvP was quite unusual unless you were trying to deceive your opponent, which this player clearly wasn't capable of given his actions thus far. Lucian held his hands forward, and his gauntlets lit up. Before the player's spell could take effect, Lucian was surrounded by an ever-burning flame barrier. Soon, an explosion echoed, followed by a few more in a chain reaction. Dust arose as Lucian's opponent waited to see Lucian's HP, hoping to deal a significant blow with his spell. However, what greeted him was Lucian casually standing there with a smiling emoticon on his face. Is that the best spell you have in your repertoire? I thought you could do better, Lucian said mockingly as he made his move for the first time, using his skill Phantom Step to instantly appear right beside the player. Try this, Lucian whispered softly as he punched the player right in the head, hurling him towards the end of the arena. However, it didn't end there as he immediately teleported himself right where the player appeared and once again punched him. -20. -20. Lucian dealt constant damage for 20 seconds until the player's HP reached 0, causing him to vanish from the arena. You won your first round. A big screen appeared floating at center of the arena as Lucian smiled, feeling a little better after defeating that opponent. I can't wait to have some fun, Lucian said as he clenched his claws, with a smirk on his face, hidden by his avatar, eagerly awaiting his new punching bag, opponent. Mei, I want to eat some sushi, Lucian said while sitting on the couch in his living room. Night had already fallen on the world, not that it mattered, as the world remained the same regardless of the time of day. It was the second day of the world tournament, and Lucian had already completed all his battles. He had even been chosen for the semi-finals, which were set to take place tomorrow. These semi-finals would mark the beginning of the real-world tournament, the one that would be streamed on multiple platforms and channels. But are you sure you want sushi? I mean, won't it be too heavy for your stomach? Mei asked, genuine concern evident in her voice. Even a speck of sweat could be seen on her brow as she worked in the kitchen, preparing some sweets for Lucian. He had recently started eating them again. These sweets weren't made with sugar but rather a healthier alternative for sweetness that didn't affect his health. Yes, my digestion and bowel system are fine these days. Not to mention, I'm feeling very hungry, and watching some TTube videos made me crave sushi, Lucian said as he browsed through his phone, which was now functioning as a tablet. Lucian's hands moved with soft motions as he scrolled through the Yggdrasil wiki page. Earlier, he had been browsing through 2 channel moments ago but couldn't find the information he wanted, so he returned to his usual site. Lucian was currently looking at the information available on the rankers, which referred to the players in the top 10. Out of the top 10 rankers, 5 of them are humanoid, 3 are demi-human, and only 2 are heteromorphic. This surprised Lucian initially because, in theory, heteromorphs should be more powerful, but it seems that not many players chose to play as heteromorphs. Fine then, Mei sighed. She knew that his bowel system was working fine because she had been keeping track of it, albeit without letting Lucian know. She continued, what kind of sushi do you want to eat then? Some unagi, aji, salmon, uni, and chutoro, Lucian said with a smile as he continued to browse through the website. As you wish, Mei replied with a smile as she brought out the cupcakes she had baked and began preparing the cream to pipe onto them. Lucian smiled as the sweet scent of the cupcakes filled the air, eagerly anticipating their arrival. He felt joyful and happy today, knowing that tomorrow he would finally get the world champion class. Lucian patiently waited for the sweets to cool while browsing the Yggdrasil wiki page. Rank 9. IGN. Hitori Boki Lone Boy. Humanoid. Level 95. Race Petra Tibnig. Class Monk. Information available none. Lucian paid 30,000 yen for this information, and all he could discern was that the player was a monk belonging to the Petra Tibnig race of humanoids. Considering his race, the monk class seemed fitting for Lucian's opponent, Petra Tibnig, a humanoid species blessed by the earth. They share similarities with wild elves but are more attuned to the earth, gifted with physical strength from their connection to the earth and its creatures. Tomorrow, Lucian's first opponent would be this player. Rank 7 and 8 are also in competition. The winner between them will face the victor of the match between Lucian and this Petra Tibnig player. It should now abundantly be clear to everyone that Lucian is going to win this match. Lucian attempted to gather information about the other 2 ranked players, but as always, he couldn't uncover any notable details about them. It seemed like these players guarded their secrets well. After all, they had become rankers for a reason. As dedicated participants in daily PvP battles, they were certain to protect their secrets. Lucian turned off his tablet and headed to the kitchen, not even waiting for his maid to bring the sweets. A cold wind breezed through Lucian's long, golden blonde hair, his avatar's hair animated to flow with the virtual wind. This effect, despite being in a closed space, was thanks to one of the mods Lucian had added. Currently, he stood in a preparation room. The moment he logged in, he had been teleported into this room and given instructions and rules for the semi-finals and finals. Lucian had already read through the instructions and was now eagerly awaiting the timer to hit 0 so he could be teleported and the battle could begin. He was eager to see what kind of arena the devs had prepared, something that would make the already challenging PvP battles even more difficult for normal players. Well, whatever it is, it'll sure be fun as heck. Lucian exclaimed as he prepared himself. His typical armor was on him. However, this time, he donned a mask. This mask would hide his face as well as his IGN and allow him to use a fake name. Although Lucian wouldn't care much about popularity, after winning the World Championship, he would likely be hunted for his World Champion class weapon. This was a precautionary measure to avoid unnecessary attention. 123. Lucian immediately donned his mask, a draconic green design with 2 horns, slits for eyes, and a small incision for a mouth, giving it an eerily dangerous appearance. As the timer reached 0, Lucian was momentarily blinded by a bright light before feeling the sensation of teleportation. When the light dimmed, he opened his eyes and was greeted by something unexpected. Lucian gazed at the ground beneath him, finding lush green grass. In front of him, a mountain rose, and as he looked further, a lake came into view, seemingly ending where the Earth's edge did. He stood on a massive crescent-shaped island, suspended in space. Stars, galaxies, and planets surrounded the island, appearing as if they were in orbit around it. The surreal sight left him awestruck. Reference image here. Lucian's eyes widened as he looked up, realizing that there wasn't just one crescent island. Above him, he saw more of them, each with its own unique features. One had crimson-red volcanic mountains, while another had frozen peaks and winding rivers. There were numerous crescent-shaped islands, each representing its distinct terrain and environment. Lucian's eyes were shining with excitement as he observed a pterodactyl-like monster adorned with lightning-like patterns soaring at incredible speed. He spotted dragons gracefully gliding through the air and drakes leaping from one crescent island to another. Amidst the grassy ground he stood on, Lucian could see some velociraptor-like monsters walking on the grass on. However, they didn't even notice him. The scenery was so beautiful that Lucian didn't even pay attention to the bright light that descended in front of him. His eyes were fixed on this beautiful scenery, which once again reminded him of how beautiful the world could be. The diversity of these floating islands left him marveling at the breathtaking spectacle before him. Player 1 and Player 2 are both here. It was only when a loud voice rang out that Lucian snapped out of his daze and looked ahead, where he found a new player standing before him. It was a guy wearing shamanic robes that were violet in color. His entire body was covered in tattoos, and half of his chest was visible, half covered by his robe. His bald head was adorned with an X-like tattoo of 2 snakes. In his right hand, he held a carefully designed stick, and in his left hand, he carried a bead necklace that emitted a brilliant golden glow. IGN. Hitori Boki Lone Boy. Humanoid. Race. Petra Tib Nig. Level. 93. HP 97/97. MP 55/55. Isn't it beautiful? Lucian could clearly hear the player's words. In fact, he couldn't help but voice his own opinion. It's indeed very beautiful. Although the scenes around the 9 worlds were stunning, this arena looked even more magical. It seemed as though countless worlds had been brought together to create this single, thriving arena. It was a truly thrilling and breathtaking sight to behold. Our battle is about to begin. Don't lose in the early stages, unknown player, said the monk, creating some distance between himself and Lucian. Lucian also snapped out of his daze and focused on his opponent. From his attire, it was clear what kind of character he was portraying. Lucian could guess that this player was definitely going to make things interesting. The battle will start in 30 seconds. Any words you players have? A loud voice echoed from one of the distant stars, shining brighter than the others. Lucian and the other player nodded in unison as their eyes locked onto each other. Both were eager to gauge each other's strength. Yeah, I know, I'm taking my time with this and maybe it's boring for you. But believe me, this will end in few chapters. Also, I just want to write more Yggdrasil content, before departing for New World. After all, you can't just go back. Yggdrasil is such a beautiful concept to me, and there are so many things I can expand on. But the only thing limiting me is, you guys. I want you guys to like the fanfic too, after all, I can't be the only one enjoying it. So, we either skip this arc, and I'll just give a brief explanation, or we go through this arc, and enjoy it. The choice is yours. 1. Skip the arc dork. 2. Don't skip the arc dork. Also, do you guys want Asuna in the harem? Like, I can add her as a player if you want. But well, I already have so many characters planned for NPCs, feel like it'll be too much. Give me your suggestions. Drop a power stone. If we reach 100 plus power stones today, another chapter drops. Another 2000 plus words chapter. I'm working too hard. Need compensation in the form of power stones. 8 comments 0 vote. World Tournament 3. A powerful blow struck Lucian square in the stomach, sending him hurtling towards the rocky mountain ground. -1. The battle had just begun, and with the timer at 0, Lucian's opponent wasted no time launching a powerful punch. His impressive reflexes suggested he had undergone extensive training, whether virtually or in the real world. You're skilled, Lucian acknowledged as he skillfully dodged his opponent's attacks, even though his reflexes weren't his strong suit. He had developed a keen understanding of his body's capabilities, allowing him to evade some attacks effectively. You too. Lucian's opponent replied, undeterred, as he continued his relentless assault. Lucian skillfully evaded each punch, utilizing his phantom step skill to reposition himself swiftly, appearing just beside where the opponent's attack had struck. You are tricky to deal with. I didn't want to use it so early, but so be it, Lucian's opponent, Hitori Boki Lone Boy, stated, as he suddenly distanced himself from Lucian, catching him off guard. Activate, Void Dive, Serpent's Passage. The player didn't shout but activated one of his skills. Lucian saw one of the snake tattoos on the player's head glowing white and vanishing. Lucian, deciding to finally attack, used his skill to appear before him. However, Lucian was surprised to find the monk player vanishing immediately. Interesting. Lucian muttered as he looked behind and used both his claws to defend from the glowing stick attack. -2. Even after the attack hit Lucian, hurtling him towards the edge of the river, he didn't feel anything. In fact, although his avatar couldn't show it, Lucian was smiling hidden beneath his mask and avatar. Shocked that I can also use it. The monk player suddenly appeared near Lucian and asked him. Nah, I can guess from your shamanic tattoos, said Lucian as he immediately used a skill of his own, making things interesting. Cursed Touch. Lucian activated his skill and immediately appeared next to the player with the intention of touching him. However, the player quickly distanced himself by vanishing, but Lucian didn't let that stop him. He chased after the player as they ran and disappeared into the mountains, away from the rivers. Falling out of the arena would result in an immediate loss, so the player deliberately led Lucian away from the river. You're pretty hard to catch, Lucian remarked as he teleported next to the player once again, only for the player to vanish before Lucian could touch him. The player taunted, your reflexes are as bad as a toddler's, as he hurled his golden glowing stick toward Lucian. Samsara Cyclone, the player shouted as his stick hurtled toward Lucian and started spinning at a rapid pace. The entire landscape began to change due to the black whirlpool that was suddenly created, with the effect of instant death. TCH, as expected, he has instant death immunity, the player muttered to himself as he prepared for another attack from Lucian. However, it didn't happen as he instead saw something that surprised him. WTF. The player shouted as he immediately dodged the large reptilian velociraptor-like monster that suddenly attacked him with its glowing teeth. Lucian stood where he was as he watched the black cyclone calm down. He wasn't affected by it, after all, he had immunity to instant death with his skill, One with Death, which made it impossible to kill him through instant death because he was one with death. When he was out of sight of the attack, he was greeted by a velociraptor-like monster attacking Hitori Boki Lone Boy. They were not alone, as there were many that started surrounding him, and not only him, as they also started surrounding Lucian too. Velociraptor. Level 80. HP 67. MP 21. So this is what they meant when they said even the arena will try to devour you. Lucian swiftly dodged a bite from one of these velociraptors and moved his claws towards its neck, inducing Cursed Touch immediately, debuffing the speed of the monster. The velociraptor immediately tried to bite Lucian. However, he didn't let that happen as he immediately used a skill. Maleficent Aura. A skill that would scare the monster. The velociraptor's entire body froze for a second before all of the velociraptors surrounding Lucian ran away. However, his opponent was not in the same condition as he was, dodging velociraptors left and right. Looks like you're in trouble, Lucian said as he immediately jumped towards his opponent, who was not able to vanish because his skill was on cooldown. Lucian maneuvered through all the dinos and punched the monk player right in his head, hurtling him towards the river once again. Say bye-bye, Lucian said as he immediately appeared beside the player and kicked him straight forward in the stomach, throwing him towards the edge of the river and where the crescent island ended. The monk player immediately fell down the edge, or so it appeared. Activate. 9-star Griffin, skyward soar, the player shouted as two bird-like wings materialized from his back, and he immediately flew toward Lucian. Lucian didn't expect the player to have a flying skill as well. Lucian jumped high, but he didn't hover. After all, he didn't want to scare his opponent. Lucian activated his claw's basic skills, and the nails became hotter as he tried to hit the now flying monk. However, the monk player effortlessly dodged the attack. Not so easily, he shouted as he flew ahead to another crescent island, the freezing Glacier 1. Lucian followed behind by jumping from the mountain. Soon, the player jumped onto another icy mountain as his skill deactivated itself. Let's end this once and for all, the player declared as he leapt towards Lucian. Lucian stood his ground, anticipating the player's skill rather than an immediate attack to finish him. The player's shout echoed as he activated his skill, Empowerment, Polar Dragon, Glacial Tyranny. A bright blue light emanated from the tattoo on his chest, covering his entire body in a shimmering icy layer, making him appear like he was encased in the hardest rock. Lucian, unfamiliar with such monk and shaman infusions, realized that this player had gone through extensive effort, trial, and error to create such a character. I know you're strong. Your stats are probably way higher than mine. You're just playing with me, I get it. I do the same when I bully other players in PvP, the monk player said, seeming to want to buy some time for an unknown reason. Lucian didn't mind giving him that time, as he had all the time in the world. And how are you planning to defeat me, then? Lucian asked as he moved one of his hands, pointing his finger as if he were holding a gun. Dark Bullet, Lucian used a skill implemented in his claws, and a black bullet immediately shot from his finger, hitting the glacier-like body of the player. -5. Wow. Your defense stats have increased by a lot, Lucian remarked. This was his way of gauging the spell. Dark Bullet wasn't an attacking or distracting spell for him, but a spell to check his opponent's strength. Yeah, and it's not just my defense, the monk player replied. Lucian smirked. What if I dodge whatever attack you are preparing? Frankly, he could just teleport to a different island, and the skill would be in vain. I won't let that happen, the player said as he brought out his necklace of beads that was on his hand. Each golden pearl seemed to shine for a second as they started spinning on the player's hand. Activate, Chains of Heaven, the player shouted as he hurled the glowing, spinning necklace at Lucian. It rapidly expanded, ensnaring Lucian as though it were a snake, progressively tightening its grip with each passing moment. What the? Lucian was shocked at how fast this happened. However, he couldn't complete his word as his opponent unleashed another skill. Activate, Temporal Dive, Serpent's Time Stop, the other snake tattoo on the monk player's head glowed black before it vanished, and then the entire area around Lucian became gray as he froze. His avatar froze, and he wasn't able to make any movement or sound as he was muted. Chronomancy. He could see the time stop logo on his interface. Now I'll end this, the player said. He had already calculated everything and brought Lucian here so he could use his one-hit kill move and secure his victory. The Chronomancy was just a contingency. The real power was in the Chains of Heaven he used, a legendary class weapon that appeared as if it were an accessory. It immobilized an opponent for 30 seconds, and all he needed was 20 seconds to charge his Supreme Buddha's 7th Palm skill. However, suddenly, something unexpected happened that the player couldn't fathom. Ha 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 ha, a laugh echoed out, leaving the player utterly shocked. No player should be able to talk right now, and the announcers and commentators' voices are muted for the players during battle. Nah, that was an interesting plan, Lucian said as he stepped out of the gray dome that had been created when Hattori Boki Lone Boy used the time stop ability. What? How? The player appeared shocked as he shouted in sheer astonishment. This trick is indeed very effective for others but not for me, Lucian said as he held the glowing chain in his hand, which slowly reverted back to its bead necklace form. If it was a divine class, then it might have worked, but it's still useless when used on me, Lucian said as he threw the bead necklace back towards the player. Armament Authority, an ability to have authority over any and all weapon. A skill so broken that it can make any player tremble with sheer terror and horror. Now, let me show you a real immobilizing skill, Lucian said, extending his hand. His claws began to glow, and then he clenched them tightly. Infernal Grasp. The player attempted to escape by jumping off the island, only to realize that they were on the top island. Jumping down would mean eliminating himself. A massive, red, devilish claw materialized out of nowhere and seized the player. He struggled to escape, but there was no way to break free from a skill empowered by a divine class item and cast by Lucian. You have been inflicted with burn. -5. You have been inflicted with curse. -4. You have been inflicted with nightmare. You have been immobilized. The player was bombarded by a barrage of notifications, each one indicating his imminent downfall. Now it's time to go. With the battle nearing its end, Lucian decided to put an end to it. He unleashed another skill, aiming to conclude the battle that had lasted for only 10 minutes. Crimson End. Lucian extended his hand, and blood materialized, enveloping the surroundings in a crimson hue. For a brief moment, it felt as if everything had ceased to exist but blood. A clear line of blood coalesced into a javelin and shot forward, striking the player right in the face, causing him to disappear immediately. You won. Lucian could clearly see the large, bold letters on the screen as he once again heard the commentator's voice excitedly discussing the battle. Okay, this was one battle I had planned and wanted to write. Now, I'll skip everything. We are time traveling next chapter. Don't cry to me if you don't understand shit. I'll explain, but it'll still come of as unnatural. I'll try to make things as quick as possible before starting New World arc. I'll just give a brief overview of every event that I was planning to write, and I will only describe one big event that's going to take place. I'm uploading the chapter, despite not reaching 100 power stones. You guys should be generous and donate all your power stones. Do not give stones. Reverse psychology. Next chapter will be the day after tomorrow. I'm gonna go take a break for the day. Writing also takes effort, after all. 6 comments 0 vote. World Tournament 4. Second aspect of the first Devil, Chaos World. The world tore apart as the landscape, once a volcanic mountain, transformed into a world seething with malevolent energy and a dark aura. The surroundings pulsated with dark forces, turning everything into a nightmarish spectacle. The sun itself turned red, casting a blood-hued light on the ground, which was no longer a solid surface but a swirling mass of demonic hands and chaotic energies. Lucian stood at a considerable distance from his last opponent, a beautiful blue-haired young lady who happened to be a sylph. Her avatar possessed long, sky-blue hair and elf-like ears. She wore a dress with blue and white stripes that allowed for easy movement. In her right hand, she held an icy blue rapier. She proved to be the most formidable opponent he had ever faced, not just in this tournament, but in any DMMO-RPG ever. Her sword skills were beautiful, and he greatly admired her, her sword style. Are you naturally blessed with those reflexes, or have you trained hard to achieve them? Lucian asked, tapping the center of both his gauntlets' red gems with his claws. First aspect of the first Devil, Shapeshift. The gem at the center of Lucian's gauntlets immediately glowed a bright red, summoning 2 swords into his hands. These red blades each had a gem at their centers. Lucian gripped the swords with both his clawed hands, which had now transformed into something resembling gloves. Era, are you asking me that because you can't beat me? His opponent, Erica, asked back, holding her rapier in her hand and pointing it towards Lucian. Nah, I just really like you, Lucian said as he waved both the swords around, and brilliant rays of red light shot forward. However, instead of hitting his opponent, they hit the red mountain drakes that were trying to get inside the chaos world of his. After all, he couldn't let himself be interrupted by some monsters and miss out on this moment. Is that a confession? Erica asked, her long sylph ears twitching slightly, perhaps due to a mod she added. Maybe, maybe not. Your sword style is beautiful. I like that, Lucian replied, his tone playful yet genuinely appreciative. Flattery was not his style. Is that so? Unfortunately, I'll have to decline. I have a boyfriend, she said, looking a little confused. However, that didn't mean she let her guard down. She readied her rapier, preparing for a strike. She knew her opponent's stats were higher than hers, and she was already walking on a thin line. If she wasn't a healer, she would have been dead by now. Erica cast Major Heal on herself, hoping to regain some health as she prepared to face her opponent, fully aware that it wouldn't be an easy battle. Let's begin, Lucian shouted, abandoning his phantom step, in favor of a full-speed charge towards Erica. He closed the distance in an instant and swung both his swords simultaneously, fully aware of the outcome. You're quite the talkative one, Erica remarked as she swiftly dodged one of Lucian's swords and used her rapier to parry the other. In a swift follow-up, she thrust her rapier towards Lucian's face. Ray Grace, extra sharp edge. Erica activated her skill, causing her icy blue rapier to glow even brighter. She thrust it with incredible speed, showcasing her impressive reflexes. Lucian took the damage head-on as the rapier struck his mask, propelling him toward the edge of the mountain. However, Erica was well aware that her opponent wouldn't fall down, so she pursued him. Once again, she thrust her rapier, but this time, Lucian reacted swiftly, swinging both his swords while still in the air. Two blinding rays of red light intersected in a cross formation, shoot toward Erica. Erica reacted swiftly, cursing under her breath as she shouted, "Shit." In an instant, two delicate fairy-like wings manifested behind her back. They twinkled with magic and carried her high into the sky, safely evading Lucian's attack. The cross-shaped rays of light struck the ground, creating massive craters in the devilish hands that had been transformed thanks to Lucian's skill. That's good. The sky is the best ground for an exciting battle, Lucian said as he once again swung his swords. First to the right, then to the left. Erica dodged all of them swiftly as she maneuvered in the sky. It's not looking good for me, Erica muttered as she kept dodging the slashes. She intended to use her finishing move to deal with her opponent, but she needed to meet certain conditions to use it, and one of them was being on the ground. Stop dodging, Lucian said as he stopped throwing sword slashes at her and instead flew at an incredible speed towards her, leaving a trail of sonic booms behind him. Instantly, he appeared in front of her and swung both his swords. As always, Erica parried both his sword slashes and tried to thrust her rapier once again. However, this time Lucian jumped back in the air and dodged it, then once again threw a burning sword slash at her, which Erica narrowly dodged. She was very close to getting hit. That was dangerous, she muttered to herself as they once again engaged in a battle of swords in the sky, flying and chasing each other. Although Erica didn't want to admit it, her opponent was strong. Perhaps it was his stats, or maybe it was his ability to read her and improve himself consistently despite having bad reflexes. It made her worry about the possibility of losing. I'll just have to take a hit if I want to defeat him. She was going to take a huge gamble, but she had no other choice. His one attack might KO her since her defense stats were very weak, but if she survived, then she might have a chance to win. You're really good, Erica-san, Lucian said as he swung his swords at her. Though he wasn't proficient with swords, he had practiced dual-wielding during his free time when facing bosses that posed no real threat to him. You too, she replied, continuing to dodge and parry all of his attacks. She managed to land 1 or 2 hits, but the frustrating part was that her attacks only did a maximum of 2 points of damage. Lucian once again used his skill and threw rays of light towards Erica. Surprisingly, this time she didn't dodge. Instead, she took the attack head-on. The rays of light hit her and sent her flying towards the edge of the icy mountain on one of the Crescent Islands. What? Why did she do that? Lucian asked in confusion as he floated there, wondering why she had taken the hit. He then checked his interface and didn't see any notification of his victory. Deciding to check on her, he flew toward the island. However, as soon as he arrived, he was surprised to see Erica running toward him at an incredible speed. She held her glowing rapier and left a trail of white light behind her as she rushed toward Lucian, who was still floating away from her location. Flashing penetrator, she shouted as she ran and jumped off the cliff, flying straight at Lucian like a comet, leaving a trail of white light behind and creating sonic booms. Lucian knew it was a powerful skill, but he took the blow head-on as the attack hit him directly in the chest. A blinding light enveloped them, sending both him and Erica flying into the grassy mountain. Lucian, -20. Erica, -30. Lucian found himself in a grassy crater, and as he looked around, he noticed the paralyzed blue-haired girl who had fallen right beside him. That was fun, Lucian remarked before pushing the woman away, treating her as if she were a sack of potatoes. At least show some decency, you jerk. Erica shouted, her avatar still paralyzed and unable to move due to the skill she had used, which delayed her movements and left her stunned for a full 20 seconds. But I guess this is the end. I can already see your HP is at rock bottom, Lucian said as the 2 swords that were sent flying away when he fell immediately flew back into his hands. He held them in a position ready to strike at any moment. I hope we can at least add each other to our friend lists, Lucian said as he swung both his swords at her, intending to take her out. -10. -10. Sure, you can try. The next time I see you, I'll definitely beat you up. Erica said with a tongue-out emoji floating beside her face. She immediately started vanishing after Lucian's 2 swords hit her, plummeting her HP to 0. Lucian looked at the ground where his opponent had vanished, and he could hear the commentator's voice announcing his win and discussing the battle. You won. Immediately a large screen appeared in his vision with fireworks animations bursting all around, followed by a flood of notifications. You have won the world tournament. Your reputation has increased. You have met the prerequisites to acquire the class world champion. You have acquired 500 million gold. Your karma has seen a rise +50. Lucian smiled upon seeing the notifications. While he had thoroughly enjoyed the tournament, especially his last fight, he couldn't contain his excitement about acquiring the world champion class, something he had been looking forward to since he started playing the game. You have been granted the privilege to enter the administrative platform. Would you like to enter? Yes, no. Lucian wasted no time and chose, yes. In an instant, he felt himself enveloped by another ray of light, and then he found himself transported to an entirely new location. How was the chapter? A few more chapters before the new world. Please bear with this selfish author. Give some power stones for motivation, your 1 power stone could make someone's day, FRFR. So, Asuna in the harem. Or we don't care about her. 'Cause I've left it at a point here, where I can either make her vital, or just ignore her existence. For those who didn't understand, Erika equals Asuna. Also, guys, does anyone know how to add characters? Like, I don't see any option. Is it only available after I reach 1 million views or some shit? Although I planned for no chapter today, I still gave one. So, you should also drop a review, even if you didn't plan for one. 13 comments 0 vote. World champion and administrator. Lucian found himself in a lavish room that left him in awe. The room was adorned with beauty and extravagance. In the center, there was a magnificent glass table, and on either side of it stood 2 opulent chairs. Lucian took a seat in the left chair, his curiosity piqued by the luxurious surroundings. He noticed that there were no visible entry or exit points. Access to this place was restricted to those with specific administrative privileges. These privileges included winning the world championship or using a world item, an item that has the power to fundamentally alter the game. To use such an item, one needed to contact the game developers, who held the authority to approve or deny such requests. Upon arriving in this place, Lucian was met with a loading screen that displayed the message. Contacting the administrators. When Lucian tapped on the screen, he received a message asking him to, please wait patiently. He decided to heed this advice and settled into a chair, patiently waiting for the administrators to arrive. During the wait, Lucian opened his console and began organizing his inventory. His OCD tendencies compelled him to ensure that everything was as compact and neatly sorted as possible. I should create another category in my inventory for items that are only useful in specific situations, Lucian muttered to himself as he sorted through the various cash shop and gacha items. While they might not be immediately valuable, he saw the wisdom in holding onto them, given his limitless inventory space. Lucian continued sorting through his inventory, but soon he sensed someone's presence. When he looked up, he saw someone standing in front of him. Are you the developer who's here to grant me the world champion class and listen to my request? Lucian asked as he closed the menu he had been browsing and looked at the person who had just arrived. The only distinctive feature Lucian could discern about the developer or admin's avatar was the brown hair and the feminine body shape, as everything else appeared very NPC-like. Can we please have a talk first? The voice said, stuttering a little, which made Lucian feel as if the other party were intimidated. Though he should be the one feeling that way, after all, the devs have supreme godlike powers in the game. Hey, are you okay? Lucian asked, concerned about the well-being of the person. Although he didn't know who this was, she was female from her voice. He had noticed her stuttering and the rapid breathing, even though it was in VR. Breathing was an essential part of one's consciousness, and it naturally carried over to VR, especially in intense situations. I'm fine. Can you please just listen to me? Please, 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 please. Suddenly, like a broken record, the person in front of him started repeating the same word, her voice breaking in between. However, she remained the same as she continued to chant the same thing continuously, making Lucian worried. Hey, Calm down, developer San. You should log out if you are not feeling okay. Maybe send someone else, or I'm even fine with giving my request for the World Champion class item at a later date, Lucian said. After all, he wasn't worried about getting scammed and not getting his weapons in class. He knew there is a GM function that can help him should the need arise. No. Please listen to me, she chanted. However, Lucian immediately pushed her into the empty chair. Just tell me what's your problem. And calm down. I'll listen. Lucian's stern words seemed to help, as she gradually regained control of her breathing and her composure. I'm truly sorry for my behavior. I panicked, and that tends to happen, whenever I panic. The avatar of the dev, or at least that's what Lucian believed it to be, said as she took a deep breath. So, what is it that I have to listen to? Lucian asked as he took his seat once again and looked at the stoic avatar of the woman. So. And then she began a long explanation of a series of events that led to a game-changing turn of events with Lucian receiving a class that was essentially a cheat. So you're saying I'm cheating? And it's your fault that I'm cheating? Lucian asked, processing all the information given to him by the dev. It's all my fault, and it was not supposed to happen. Please, forgive me, the girl once again said, apologizing. In fact, she has been apologizing almost every 2 to 3 sentences. Lucian didn't understand why she was so polite and apologizing every second, but seeing it from her perspective, it made sense. After all, she had made a big blunder. So what do you want me to do exactly? The job class belongs to me now, even if it was given by mistake, Lucian said, making his stance clear on the job class. He had paid for it, and not a little but a lot. And she basically said that it was a scam run by devs. How bad would it be if someone else were to learn it? Anyo. Can you please settle for some other class? I can give you rare job classes that will help you. I just want you to remove that job class. Plus, the class is useless as only half of it is coded. Doesn't it make the game boring for you? Please, just drop the class, please, 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 the developer pleaded repeatedly. No. Lucian shouted firmly in response to her plea. There was no way he would give up the class he had paid for. It was rightfully his, and he was determined to keep it, even if it meant going to court. The developer suddenly looked excited and got up, proposing a new deal. How about this? She exclaimed. I'll provide you with information about a world item. Yes, that's it. How does that sound? Having a world item instead of a boring class. I can even give you the location to find one. Her excitement was palpable, and she seemed to expect Lucian to accept eagerly. After all, a world-class item was a game-breaking treasure. Lucian considered the offer for a moment and then firmly stated, how about? No. His tone carried a sense of finality, and he looked at the developer, a sense of frustration evident in his expression. But then, suddenly, something in his mind snapped, and he hatched a devious plan. Okay, first, can you give me my world champion class? Lucian said as he sat down and continued, let me think about your offer. Really? The girl immediately got excited as she brought up her developer's console, typed something on it, and soon Lucian received some notifications. You have acquired the job class World Champion Muspelsheim. The champion chain quest has been unlocked. Your karma has seen a rise +50. Thanks, that's better, Lucian said as he sighed in relief. Finally, he had acquired the World Champion class, and he could now relax a bit. So, are you fine with my offer? A world-class item it is. The girl said as she immediately sat down in front of him, eager to await his answer. Lucian's smirk was concealed by his avatar as he continued, no, but I've got an offer for you. How about you work for me instead? Lucian suggested as he equipped the World Champion class through his console. What do you mean? Are you not going to accept my request? The girl asked, confused and worried, her voice beginning to crack once again. Are you worried about losing your job? Lucian asked. Yes, if anyone finds out and reports it to the board of directors, I'm done for, the girl replied, her voice breaking at the end. She continued, they'll blacklist me not only from the company but also add it to my resume. It'll become impossible for me to get a job, and then I'll have to live in shelters. Ag. Stop crying. Lucian shouted, trying to calm down the distressed woman. Hearing Lucian's stern voice, she immediately flinched a little bit, but soon she calmed down and listened to Lucian's request. You see, developer San, wait, I didn't even get your name. What's your name? Lucian asked as he gestured for her to tell her name. Ah, sorry for my late introduction. My name is Kirin Suzune. The girl said as she bowed her head, her avatar performing a Japanese bow. It's nice to meet you, Suzune. My name is Lucian, Lucian Evans. Lucian said as he extended his hand for a handshake. Evans? The girl asked, looking puzzled as she shook Lucian's hand. Yes, Evans. Now, would you hear me out? Lucian said as he pulled her closer. This would be the moment that would change Kirin Suzune's life, for better or worse. But she knew she wouldn't regret it. Dash 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 dash. Job class. World Champion Muspelheim. Description. The one who fought, the one who prevailed, the one who endured until the end, the one hailed as brave, that is the world champion. They defy the very limits of the world, challenging boundaries. By competing in the world tournament and emerging victorious until the final battle, Muspelheim's world has granted this class to a sole individual whom it deems worthy of its powers. Cherished by an entire world, they wield skills and abilities that shatter the norms and boundaries. This class can only be leveled up through the completion of all the champion chain quests. Grants the player a passive boost of 30% to all stats when they are within the grounds of Muspelheim. Skills. Boundary of Champions. Champion moves first, rebound, call Aegis, unity beacon, world's edge, distortion strike, dimensional gap, dimensional slash, more can be unlocked after leveling up. Abilities. Champion's aura, I, glory of the champion, shatter scene, Muspelheim's favor, blessed by cert, doom blade, balance break, more can be unlocked after leveling up. How was the chapter? Was it to your liking? Nah. Yeah. Give power stones for motivation. Pretty please, looks at you with eyes twinkling with stars. There will not be a chapter tomorrow. Sorry, guys. I'll try to make it up to you guys the day after tomorrow, with a slightly long chapter. Now, go and drop a review. 19 comments, 0 votes.